Is it audible, Pujita? Pujita, can you please respond? Is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, sir.
Okay. In the last session, we have given introduction for the concept of exceptions, right? Did we discuss or not?
Yeah, sir.
Okay. So what do you mean by an error? Error is nothing but what? Deviation from the virginality. So any deviation from the virginality can be considered as what? An error. So if you consider errors in the programming language, so we can broadly classify it into two types. So we can broadly classify the errors into two types. So first one in the form of syntax errors, second one in the form of what? Runtime errors. So what happens with the syntax errors? As the name itself says, because of invalid syntax, so those errors were raised from the program execution. So due to invalid syntax, if programmer is not following the rules and regulations of the programming language, then in such case syntax errors will be raised. Syntax error or syntax errors. So due to invalid syntax errors will be raised. What about runtime errors? As the name itself says, during the time of runtime, these errors will be raised. During the time of runtime, during the time of execution, these errors will be raised. So yesterday's session, so we discussed about few examples related to the syntax errors and also related to the runtime errors. Not all runtime errors are called as exceptions. Exceptions are one type of what? Runtime errors. Exceptions are one kind of runtime errors. Even logical errors comes into the category of what? Runtime errors. So we discussed in the yesterday session, right? Have we discussed or not?
Yeah, sir.
In the print statement, so we have removed comma from the parameters. So when I did like that, what happened? Did it raise any kind of error during the time of execution? No. But logically there is mistake or not? So yeah, that comes into the category of what? Logical error. Then we have discussed about what? Exceptions, right? Exceptions are one kind of runtime errors. So we have given we discussed about different examples, right? So performing division operation upon the numbers. So here we are reading the values. When we are reading the values from the end user dynamically, so if user is giving the denominator value as 0, then in such case what happens? Our Python virtual machine, which is responsible in executing the code, is entering into the state of dilemma, is entering into the state of confusion. It is entering into the state of ambiguity. When Python virtual machine does not know how to execute a particular statement of the program or logic, then in such state, Python virtual machine is entering into the state of what? Confusion or ambiguity or dilemma. So in such dilemma state, Python virtual machine, it is going to create an exception class object. exception class object according to the situation. So here, if you consider, so if I am giving 0 here, what happened here? So because of 0, so when the value, when the numerator is divided with 0, what happened here? Result is infinity. When it produces infinity sort of value, so our Python virtual machine is entering into the state of what? Ambiguity. It doesn't know how to assign that infinite value to the C variable, or it doesn't know the value of infinite. So entering into the state of what? Confusion or dilemma or ambiguity state. So letting the Python virtual machine to create an object for the exception class called as zero division error. So what it is representing the exception class. This zero division error is one kind of exception. It is one kind of exception or not. So this particular error, this particular exception is raised when you are dividing a number with 0. So in such cases, you can see this kind of exceptions. So other than 0, so when you are dividing the number other than 0, so can we see this kind of exception?
No, sir.
So only in a situation when you give the denominator, when you are dividing a number with 0 sort of value, then in such case, then in such situation, our Python virtual machine is entering into the state of ambiguity or confusion or dilemma. So when it enters into the dilemma state, so result is what? Rest of the program, rest of the code is not getting executed, resulting in abnormal termination of the program execution. So abnormal termination is an unwanted situation or highly undesirable situation to the programmer or to the user who is using that program. It is highly undesirable situation. So when it is terminating the program abnormally, so is it a desirable situation or undesirable situation?
Undesirable
situation. Highly undesirable situation to the programmer. Okay, so when abnormal termination takes place, rest of the code is going to be executed or not?
No.
No, it won't execute the rest of the code. The statement which is responsible in making the Python virtual machine to enter into the state of ambiguity, so it is creating an exception object. So when it is creating an exception object, if that object is not handled properly, if that exception is not handled properly, then what it is leading to? It is leading to abnormal termination. So abnormal termination. So abnormal termination is seen. So this is one example, guys. So in the second example, what we have done, so we have given the values like for the same program. For the first variable, I have given 10. For the second variable, what I have given?
String called second.
So second is what? Sequence of characters. It is a string type, right? So when this value is given to the integer function, integer typecasting function, okay, Python virtual machine will again enter into the state of ambiguity. It does not know how to convert this sequence of characters into the number data type, into the integer data type. So again, it has entered into the dilemma state or confused state or ambiguity state. So when Python virtual machine enters into the state of dilemma or confused or ambiguity, at that instance, Python virtual machine is creating an object for the exception class. So based upon the situation, it is going to create an object for the corresponding exception class. So here it is value type of error, right? So the exception class name is what? Value error. Value error corresponding, this particular class corresponding exception object will be created by the Python virtual machine automatically. So it is done automatically by the Python virtual machine. And then abnormal termination is seen or not? Abnormal termination is seen. That means here, when we are reading the value into the B variable, okay, so when we are passing the input to the integer function. So what we are passing here we are passing a string. String is not converted into the integer data type. So second is not a number. It is not a number which can't be converted into the integer data type. So because of this kind of thing, so our Python virtual machine has entered into the state of ambiguity or confused state. Okay, so consider one more example, guys. So here I am taking file related example. Okay, file related example. I'm opening the file called as xyz.txt. In which mode? Read mode.
Read mode.
So to open this particular file xyz in read mode, first of all, file called as xyz.txt has to be available in the consent path or not. If it is not available on the consent path, can I open xyz.txt?
No, sir.
So if this file is not available on the consent path, now what happens? Python virtual machine again enters into the state of ambiguity or confused state or dilemma state. It does not know how to open a file called as xyz.txt when it is not available upon the consent path. On the consent path. Okay, consent path in the sense here we are opening in which path?
Read mode.
Current working directory or not?
Yes.
So in the current working directory, so it will check for the xyz.txt file. If it is available, it is opened in the read mode. Okay, so here it checks in the consent path. So in the consent here, the consent path is nothing but what? Current working directory or current working folder. So if this file is not available, dilemma state. So Python virtual machine is entering into the state of dilemma state. So the moment when it enters into the dilemma state, rest of the code is not getting executed when it is not handled properly. Okay, to move to the normal state means what? Python virtual machine has to be brought from the dilemma state to the normal state. We are handling the exceptions. So can I call this one as exception, guys?
Yeah, sir.
So this particular exception is occurred only when the file is not available. If file is available, can we expect this kind of situation? Does
No,
Python
sir.
virtual machine enter into the ambiguity state? No, it
No,
won't
sir.
enter into the ambiguity state. Okay, so here the exception name is what?
File not found.
File not found error. So this is the class name, exception class name. What about this one? This is called as the exception message. This is exception message. No such file or directory. This is the exception message. So here also you can see the exception message called as division by zero. This zero division error is what? It is the name of the exception class object created by the Python virtual machine automatically when the denominator value is given as zero. So when I am dividing a number with zero, when such kind of situation arises to the Python virtual machine, so it creates Python virtual machine, it creates an object for the zero division error class. So that will be done automatically. So that representation to represent the dilemma state. So it is creating an exception object for the corresponding situation. Okay. So exception object created for the which class? Zero division error class. So here it is creating an exception object for the value error class. It is the name of the exception. So this one is what? This one is representing the exception message. This is the message, and the thing which is available before colon operator is considered as the name of the exception class. Okay, so this file not found error is the name of the exception class. So this one is considered as what? The message, exception message. Now, what I can conclude about exception? So in simple terms, you have to define an exception, right? So does these exceptions are occurring regularly?
No, sir.
So they are not occurring regularly. So means what? There can be considered as an unwanted events or not?
Yes, sir.
Unwanted events or unexpected events or unnecessary events. Can I call like that?
Yeah, sir.
So I will define the exception as an unexpected event or unwanted event which disturbs the normal flow of execution of the program. So here, when this kind of situation is erased, is it affecting upon the execution of the program?
Yeah, sir.
So when this kind of file is not
No, sir,
existing, hello, when xyz.txt file is not available on the consent path, it is affecting the execution of the program?
No, sir.
No, it is affecting the execution of the program because rest of the program is not getting executed. It is abnormally terminating the program, right? Hello.
Yes,
Are you
sir.
seeing the execution of the total program?
No, sir.
Abnormal termination is seen or not?
Yes, sir.
So an unexpected event or unwanted event or unnecessary event, an unexpected event or unwanted event or unnecessary event which disturbs the normal flow of execution of the program is called as what? Exception. So here in this case, this xyz.txt file is not available upon the consent path. So it is an unnecessary. So when it is not available, it is creating what? Disturbance to the normal flow of execution. So disturbance to the normal flow of execution in the sense it is not executing the total program. So rest of the program is not getting executed, isn't it? Is it disturbing the execution? Normal execution is disturbed or not?
Yes, sir.
So such kind of thing is called as what? An exception.
Exception.
Unwanted or unexpected or unnecessary event which disturbs the normal flow of execution of the program. Okay, so when exception is occurred, okay, when this kind of exception is occurred, when it is not handled properly, it is resulting in what? Abnormal termination or not?
Yeah, sir.
So this is the point. So when exception is not handled properly, it is leading to what? Abnormal termination of the program. So when abnormal termination is seen, so it is considered as what? Highly undesirable situation. Okay, so to the user of program, abnormal termination is highly undesirable situation to the user of the program. So that might be an end user, or that might be what? That might be the programmer or the developer. So what we are expecting? Graceful termination means what? Smooth termination or normal termination of program has to be seen. So of a program is seen when the exception is handled properly. So when we can see normal termination?
When exception is handled properly.
When it is handled properly, then we can see the normal termination or graceful termination. So to handle it properly, so what sort of measures should be taken by the programmer or by the developer? So to move from to move the Python virtual machine, bringing from the unwanted, sorry, not unwanted, so that ambiguity state to the normal state. So what's the procedure? So what are the measures that has to be taken by the programmer, by the Python programmer or by the programmer? So this exceptions handling concept can be seen in Python, can be seen in Java, can be seen in C#.NET, can be seen in Java, can be seen in VB.NET. So like this, this particular concept is supportable in multiple number of programming languages, guys, but we are focusing upon Python. Okay, so graceful termination. So graceful termination can be seen when that exception is handled properly. So if we can see single exception, that single exception has to be handled properly. If you are seeing multiple exceptions, those multiple exceptions has to be handled properly. So how they can be handled, how exceptions are handled. So that's the next topic, next point. Okay, exception handling. So how they can be handled. So exception handling is nothing but what? Handling of the exceptions. So what happens with the handling of the exceptions? So what we are doing, we are providing an alternate way. We are providing an alternate way to continue the rest of the program normally. So that is called as what? Exception handling. That means, so when here, if this xyz.txt file is not available, okay, so I have to create an alternative path. I have to create an alternative path such that Python virtual machine will be moving from the state of ambiguity to the normal state. Okay, so to do that, to move that Python virtual machine, bringing from that unwanted state that called as a ambiguity state to normal state. So what we have to do? So that for that purpose, we are creating an alternative path. So that is called as what? Exception handling. Defining the alternate way to continue the rest of the program normally is called as exception handling. So this alternative way will be executed only at the time of exception handling, or even in normal situation also we can see the alternate way of execution.
Even in normal situation.
No, in
sir,
normal
only
situation we are not
exception
going
handling.
to see, we are not going to execute this alternate way. So this alternate way is preferred by the Python virtual machine when this kind of exception handling concept is written by the programmer. That means when an exception occurs, it takes the alternate way, or else it won't choose the alternate way to continue the rest of the program execution. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
So exception handling does not mean repairing the exception. We are not repairing the exception. We are not repairing the exception. Means what? Let us suppose if this xyz.txt file is not available. So because of this reason, it is raising an exception, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
when that exception occurs, we are not providing the file. That means we are not repairing the exception. What we are trying to do, we are providing an alternate way. We are providing an alternate way such that Python virtual machine will be bringing from that unwanted state called as that ambiguity state to normal state. That means it moves to the rest of the code where normal flow of execution can be seen. So to create that path, to create that alternate path, exception handling concept is seen. So is the concept clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please respond. So
Yes,
how
sir.
exceptions are handled in Python programming language? So if you observe here we are provided with two keywords, guys. So the keywords which has to be used by the Python programmer are try and except. So try keyword is the first keyword, second keyword is except keyword. So these two keywords are mandatorily that has to be used by the Python programmer for handling what? Exceptions. So with the help of these two keywords, we are handling. We in the sense we Python programmers are handling the exceptions. So try is the first keyword. Second keyword is what? Except keyword. Then try block and except block were used. So these are the keywords. These are the keywords using which Python programmer is creating what? Try block and except block. So try block and except block were created by the Python programmer for handling what? For handling the exceptions. Now under try block, what sort of code has to be placed? So what sort of code has to be placed? See here.
Risky code.
Risky code. So what do you mean by risky code? So if you see this particular example, so f equal to open, I'm considering this code, guys. So having how many lines of code? See the logic. Four lines of code is available. Now in this code, so when this xyz.txt file is not available, then obviously it makes the Python virtual machine to enter into the state of ambiguity or not.
Yes, sir.
So can I
Yes.
consider this statement as a risky statement?
Yeah, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, if you observe this second statement, so this statement will be executed based upon the first statement or not. So it is
Yes,
related
sir.
to the statement or not.
Yes, sir.
So when
Yes,
this
sir.
statement is not executed, when the first statement itself is not executed properly, can we expect the execution of second one?
No, sir.
It is dependent on this statement or not.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So it
sir.
is related to the first one or not.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Then come to the third one, print of data. Is it related to this statement?
No, sir.
No, of course it is related, guys. So when this file called as xyz.txt is not available on the consent part, so can we expect data?
No, sir.
Indirectly related, sir.
Sorry,
Yes, sir. Not related, sir. Sir,
not
related, sir.
related. It is related,
Related.
guys. So data. So what's the content of data?
F dot reading the file.
So when it reads the content of the file, then only we are having this data. Means what? These three statements are related or not?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
So
Yes,
can I
sir.
consider it? Can I consider these 3 lines of statements under risky code?
Yeah, sir.
So
Yes,
this
sir.
sort of
Yes,
code,
sir.
this sort of risky code has to be identified by the programmer. Whether you are Python programmers or Java programmers or some other kind of programming language programmers. So you have to identify this kind of risky code. You have to identify this kind of risky code. So this sort of risky code is placed under which block, guys?
Try block.
Try block. Okay, then immediately we have to mention the except block. So this particular except block will having the logic, so which will have what? Action that has to be performed when exception occurs. Okay, action which has to be performed when exception occurs. Is it clear, guys?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
What about this one? Is it related to the first statement?
No, sir.
No,
Print
sir.
of
No,
file.
sir.
So it is
No,
not
sir.
having any kind of relation with these statements. Okay, so these 3 statements has to be placed in the try block or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What about this one? Can I include
Except
this
block.
statement as part of try?
No,
No.
sir.
No,
So can I
sir.
consider it as risky code?
No, sir.
No,
No,
So it
sir.
is not considered as the risky code. Okay, so these 3 statements has to be placed under the try.
Try block.
Try block.
So the action which we have to perform will be written here. Okay, so when I'm writing these 3 lines of code under try block, so because of this particular statement, that means when xyz.txt file is not available, then what happens? Again, the remaining 2 statements which are part of this try block, are they going to be executed?
No, sir.
No,
No,
sir.
they won't be executed. These 2 statements will not be executed. These 2 statements will not be executed. So directly it goes for what? The exception block. So except block will be executed. The action which has to be performed when exception occurs. So this sort of logic will be executed, and then the statement is written after except block. Isn't it?
Yeah, sir.
Are you
Yes, sir.
understanding, guys? Are you following?
Yes. Yeah, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what's the responsibility of Python programmer? So Python programmer has to identify this kind of risky code. Risky code has to be identified, and that risky code has to be placed under try block. So the action which has to be performed when that kind of exception occurs means, so that sort of logic has to be placed under except block, and then the remaining logic can be mentioned after the except block. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Are you following, guys? Are you understanding the term called as risky code?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So what do you mean by risky code? The statement which is responsible in bringing the Python virtual machine into the state of ambiguity or confused or dilemma state. So such kind of statement along with the related statements are considered as what? Risky code.
Risky card.
The statement which is responsible in making the Python virtual machine to enter into the state of ambiguity or confused or dilemma, such sort of statement and its related statements are considered as what? Risky code. Are you understanding the term called as risky code?
Yes, sir.
So in this particular example, these 3 lines of code are responsible, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
These 3 lines are considered as risky. So why I'm considering as risky? So because of the first line, the Python virtual machine may enter into the state of ambiguity. So obviously this statement can be considered as risk statement. And its related statements are these two. These two are dependent upon this statement. So are they related?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So these kind of related statements with the risky statement has to be placed under risky code under the try block. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So action which has to be performed will be written under the except block. Now similarly, now you consider this particular code, guys. Now I am taking this particular example. First example. Okay. In this example, you tell me the risky code. So with respect to division operation, so which statements are considered under the risky part?
First 4, sir.
First 4.
Yeah, sir. No, sir. Last 2, sir. Last 2, sir.
Please analyze the code properly, guys. So
Last 2 are risky, sir.
these 2 are risky. Related to which kind of risks?
Division by
risk?
0.
Division by 0. When I'm considering that kind of risk, so these are the 2 statements which are responsible, because C is dependent upon what?
A by B.
This C is dependent upon this statement or not?
Yes, sir.
So can I consider these 2 statements as risky code?
Yeah, sir. Yeah, sir.
Now when I'm considering invalid input sort of risk, value error sort of risk,
A and B also consider.
so this kind of risk is different from this kind of risk, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
See, suppose if I'm taking 1 here, if I'm writing 1 here, so if the end user gives 1, okay, now can I convert this 1 into in an integer data type?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
This value can't be converted into integer data type, right? So our Python virtual machine is entering into the state of ambiguity. Okay, so do we have any kind of related statements related to this A statement? A equal to int of?
No, sir.
No statements is available. No, this is a single statement.
Yeah.
Single risky logic, isn't it?
Yeah, sir.
Similarly, can I consider the second statement as the single risky logic again? Another
Yeah,
risky
sir.
logic.
Yeah, sir. It is also a risky one, sir.
Risky logic. These 2 statements can be considered as another risk. So how many number of risks are available here?
3, sir.
3 number of risks. Okay, so for this logic, this means this particular logic has to be placed in try block or not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Immediately it has to be followed by
Except block.
except block. Similarly, here I will write the code into try block. Immediately it will be followed by
Except block.
except block. Then similarly, these 2 statements are written in one try block, immediately followed by
Except block.
except block. Are you following, guys?
Yeah, sir.
Yes, sir.
If I'm having one more statement here, so if I'm writing like a print of CSE, actually it is not related to this particular code, but if you are including this kind of statements as part of this code, is it related to any kind of risk here?
No, sir.
It is independent one, so that can be written after the except blocks or not?
Yeah,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
After the last except block, can I write this statement?
Yeah,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
That can be written. So are you understanding, guys?
Yes, sir.
So what kind of code has to be placed under try block? What kind of code has to be placed under except block? Is the point clear or not?
Yeah, sir.
Yes,
So what sort of code has to be placed under try block?
Risky one.
Risky code. So what is risky code?
Which makes the Python to enter into ambiguity.
Not Python, Python virtual machine.
Python virtual machines.
So who is executing the code? PVM is responsible or not?
Yeah,
Yes.
sir.
So can you expect the execution of the Python code without having Python virtual machine?
No, sir.
No, sir.
You can't expect the execution of the code. First of all, your system should have what? Python virtual machine. So if your system is not accommodated with the Python virtual machine software, so you can't execute what? The Python program. Python virtual machine is mandatory, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So now let us consider one general example, guys, to understand the concept of exception. Okay. Now let us consider myself. So I'm located at Hastinapuram, guys. I'm staying at Hastinapuram. I'm giving you a general example to understand the concept of exception. Are you following, guys?
Yeah, sir.
So I'm residing. I'm locating at Hastinapuram. So daily I'm coming to the college from Hastinapuram. Okay. So MREC is my destination. So starting point is Hastinapuram. Destination point is what?
MREC.
MREC. So I'm starting from Hastinapuram at 7 a.m. At which point? 7 a.m. I'm starting from my home at 7 a.m. and I'm reaching the college. I'm reaching the college at 9 a.m. So by 9 a.m. I'm reaching the college. So to move from Hastinapuram to MREC, so what I'm doing is I'm making use of bus. So transport is what? I'm using the transport facility of, hello, I'm using transport facility. So which transport facility? College bus. I'm using college bus to move from Hastinapuram to MREC. So it is regular activity or not? It is normal activity or not?
Yeah, sir.
So daily I am moving. If the bus is working fine, if I am not facing any kind of issues with the bus, can I reach the destination within a within a correct period of time?
Yeah, sir.
Of course, I will reach the destination within the correct period of time. So within 2 hours, I will reach the destination. If bus is working fine, so with the help of bus, I will reach the destination. So this is the only way for me through which I can reach my destination called as MREC. So to move from Hastinapuram to MREC, it is taking 2 hours of time. Daily I'm starting at 7 a.m., reaching by 9 a.m. Now, so daily I'm moving. So suddenly, so bus tire has got punctured. Suddenly, bus tire has got punctured. So can I consider that tire puncture as an unexpected event?
Unexpected event, sir.
Please respond.
Yes, sir.
Unexpected event, sir.
The tire has got punctured. Tire has got punctured. Now, so how can I move to the destination? Only with the help of bus or not?
Yes, sir.
So tire has got punctured. So can I consider it as an unexpected event?
Yeah, sir. Unexpected events.
Unexpected event. Now, so when it is punctured, so can I move to the destination?
No,
No.
sir.
It is not possible. So what we have to do? So we have to handle this unexpected event or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Unexpected or unwanted. Unwanted or even it can be called as what?
Unnecessary.
Unnecessary. So when this kind of unnecessary or unwanted or unnecessary event takes place, so because of that reason, it disturbs my normal flow of execution or not? Normal flow in the sense to reach to the MREC. So am I moving to the MREC smoothly?
No, sir.
No,
So it
sir.
is affecting on my normal execution or not? That means normal
sir.
flow to reach to MREC. So here I'm getting problem with this kind of unexpected event or not?
Yes, sir.
So am I reaching the MREC by time? So
No,
when this
sir.
kind of unexpected event takes place, can I reach the destination directly?
No, sir.
So what we have to do? So to when this kind of event occurs, so tire puncture sort of unexpected event or unwanted event takes place. So what we have to do? So to move to the destination, what we have to do?
Choose an alternative.
To move to the destination, what we have to do? To move to the destination, what we have to do? What's the solution?
Choose
Please.
alternative bus.
I'm having only college bus, guys. So only that is the only option available. Now what I have to do? Please respond.
Should board in another college. Same college bus, another one.
Hare. If I don't have that kind of option, Okay, so if that kind of option is available, means that can be considered as what, an alternative way to reach to the college or not?
Yes, sir.
Means what, we are fixing this issue, isn't it?
Yeah, sir.
So how we are fixing the issue? So let us assume that, so I don't have that kind of options. Okay, now what I have to do? Solution is what?
Tire should be repaired.
Fix the issue. Means what? Fix the puncture. Fix the puncture. So if I want to fix the puncture, what I need tools or not?
Yes, sir.
So if tools are not available, if tools required to fix the puncture, to fix the puncture is not available, then what happens? Am I
You
reaching
can't
MREC?
use MREC, sir.
Am I reaching MREC?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
I got stuck in the middle itself, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So can I call it as abnormal termination?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please respond. Am I reaching the
Yes.
destination?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
No, sir.
So this happens when the required tools are not available. Okay, let us assume if the required tools are available. Required tools are available to fix the puncture. But if spare tire is not available, okay. Let us assume that if spare tire is available. So with the help of these tools, can I fix a new tire? Can I fix the spare tire?
Yeah, sir.
By fixing the new tire, new tire in the sense spare tire. So if spare tire is available, I will fix the spare tire with the, I'm replacing what? The puncture tire with the spare tire. And then I will reach the MREC. Am I going to reach the MREC with the same 9 a.m.?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Depends upon what? Fixing the puncture, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If I am fixing the puncture, if I am fixing the puncture, then
You
Then-
can reach to college
reach the destination.
after 9.
So can reach the
Destination.
Means what? So here I am providing an alternate way or not? Please respond.
Yes, sir.
So when I fix
Yes,
this
sir.
puncture, so how I am doing that? So when this kind of problem is occurring, so this problem is getting fixed, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So it is called as handling. What it is called as?
Handling.
Handling. Handling what? Handling the risk. Handling the risk. Handling the risk. So that risk is considered as what? Exception or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So am I handling the exception?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
this
sir.
kind of concept is called as what? Exception handling. So when I'm having spare tire, so with the help of spare tire, what I'm doing, I'm replacing the puncture tire with the spare tire and moving to the destination. So it is providing an alternate way, isn't it? If the
Yes,
tire
sir.
was not there, means with the help of the spare tire, I'm moving to the destination. So how I am reaching to the destination? Okay.
With the same college.
So for that, what I am doing? So if some kind of issues are raising means, so how that issues were fixed? Okay. So if issues were raised means that is considered as an exception. In general, in regular, we won't face this kind of issues, right? Hello.
Yeah, sir. Yeah.
Sir.
ప్రతిరోజు పంచర్ అవుతుందమ్మా?
No, sir.
No, sir.
సో ఒకవేళ అలా అయింది అని అంటే అన్ఎక్స్పెక్టెడ్. ఒకవేళ రోజు పంచర్ అవుతూనే ఉండదంటే అది రెగ్యులర్ ఈవెంట్ అవుతుంది. పంచర్ కాకపోవడం అనేది
Irregular event.
ఇరెగ్యులర్
Unexpected.
ఈవెంట్ అవుతుంది. సో అన్ఎక్స్పెక్టెడ్. Are you understanding the term called as unexpected?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So unexpected or unwanted or unnecessary thing can be considered as what? It can be considered as an exception. Okay. So how we are fixing that exception? So that's nothing but what? The concept of exception handling. So how it is handled in Python programming language? With the help of two
Exception
keywords called as
Try
try
and
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 except.
accept.
Try and accept.
Okay. So try block, except block is used. How many try blocks? How many except blocks? It depends. It depends upon the situation. So if you are having many number of risky codes, obviously we will see what? Many number of try blocks or not.
Yes, sir.
And its corresponding.
accept block.
Exception block.
So if I am writing only try block without having except, Can we handle the situation? Can we handle exception?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
So
No,
these
sir.
two are related to one another or not?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So if any kind of risk takes place, so what sort of action has to be taken? So that particular thing has to be written here. Are you following, guys?
Yes, sir.
Please
Yes, sir.
respond. Are you following the examples or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So are you understanding the compound as risky?